Okay, Brie, I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
Just really quick. Okay, when we talked about back when Cowboy Carter came out, we were discussing the album and our favorite tracks and our not favorite tracks. And you seemed a little less favorable to arguably the best song on Cowboy Carter, which was Two Most Wanted featuring Miley Cyrus.
Oh, okay.
And I think you should give that a re-listen because there's a reason why the Academy gave that award to Miley and Beyonce.
Oh, really? They both won something?
Yeah.
I'm so behind
Like-
on the Grammys right now.
You're like, it blows my mind. Maybe it just didn't hit you at the right time, but I'm
Maybe
like,
not.
you're such a landslide, like Fleetwood Mac fan and like Miley and like a Thelma Louise theme.
I think I was caught up on her and Dolly Parton singing. So I was like more into that. It was like was it Jolene? She did her own
Oh,
like,
yes,
cover
yeah.
sort of with some of her own lyrics, I think.
She did, yes.
Yeah. I was really into that. I don't think I listened to the Miley one very much, to be honest. I think I just listened to it a little and then like moved on. So I only listened to it once.
I say listen and get back because
Okay. That was my homework assignment.
it's your homework assignment because I feel like it would just
I'm missing something.
I
I do
you are
love
missing
Miley
something.
Cyrus too. I mean,
Yeah.
that is crazy that I would miss that.
I mean, do you like Hannah Montana the movie? Did that speak to you as a child?
As a child, yeah.
Okay. Has Beyonce ever spoken to you?
Oh yeah, many a times, yeah.
How about Thelma and Louise?
Yes, hell yes.
Okay.
Wait, are you meaning to tell me they're like Thelma? Is there a music video for this as well?
No,
Or it's just the way they
but
sing.
it's a whole song. I was like, do we need to
Could
pause the tape? Because the whole entire song is like hands on the wheel. Like they're like Thelma and Louise riding, like slightly lesbianic, like undertones.
What?
Yeah, like
You're really selling this song for me right now. I don't know.
Also, Cowboy Carter is a great album. I listened to it again last weekend.
It is. Yeah. No, I definitely need to re-listen knowing all that. So
It's okay. I just felt
I
like you
feel
might not
ashamed.
have
I
been in
feel
the headspace
ashamed.
not to just be like sit in the corner.
I know. I'm gonna go think about it.
No, because we were talking about the Grammys and like that you're late to the party on it, which I feel like I haven't really I didn't watch the ceremony or anything.
I heard it was really good this
I
year.
heard it was too.
People are like, the Grammys were very entertaining. And I'm like, I've missed a lot.
The 1 year.
The 1 year, I'm like, yeah, I feel like for years now, like, I just haven't tuned in.
Yeah.
Eh.
It was tough. I also think not to be a negative Nancy, but it is a little hard when you're like in the streaming age to watch the Grammys. Like with prices, we got to get back to cable or something so we can watch
True.
the award shows.
Yeah, where do you watch the Grammys, I wonder?
Yeah.
If not on live TV.
Well, now you have
I do have YouTube TV. Not sponsored,
where you watch
but
the
open
Jersey
to it.
Shore.
Yes, Jersey.
Well, cheers. You want to start this episode? To Beyonce, to Chapel Roan.
Yes, to Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes, I feel like that
Doechii.
man, Doechii. I feel like that man on TikTok, the one that's like surprise, surprise. Anyways, hey, it's Nikki,
And it's Brie.
and we're
Late to the Party.
a weekly podcast about the film, fashion, and pop culture moments that shaped us into the weirdos that we are. And today we are back to discuss what is this? The last
show.
I almost said The Last Great American Showgirl.
Give it a longer title. Sounds legit.
No, but we're talking about The Last Showgirl because a couple weekends ago we saw our epic double feature movie day.
I'm still thinking about it. That was a great time.
Same. Honestly, I've been riding that high for so long. But yeah, we saw The Last Showgirl and we saw Baby Girl as a little double feature on a Saturday, and
Would highly recommend that as a double feature.
100%. How did you feel about? So we walked in to a near empty movie theater. I mean, I know times are tough.
Yeah.
And movie theaters aren't always popping at all times of day.
Right.
However, we did see the first and only showing of The Last Showgirl at noon on the dot.
Oh, was that the only one for that day?
It was, yes.
That's so odd. That's terrible. They just need to give people more opportunities to see that movie. That's not right. Because, what's up with that?
Yeah. But I guess pro tip, we got in that movie for essentially free. Like, we essentially just snuck into that movie, even though we
had paid
tickets.
online, but no one checked us for the tickets. So we just kind of...
Yeah.
And we didn't need concessions because we had our Chick-fil-A, right? Or something. No, we skipped it. We skipped our...
We skipped because when you see a movie at noon, and you've had breakfast, where do you go from there, really?
That's true.
But yes, this was our first movie at noon. How did you feel seeing The Last Showgirl?
I loved it. I felt like a little emotion, though, throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed it. And I loved the cinematography. I love Pamela Anderson.
Can we hold space for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. I really love that you love the cinematography in this film. Because I've seen so much hate online.
Yes,
I've seen
I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that up because I saw that too.
Mm-hmm. Like critics that I love and admire that are just like the dingy cinematography.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's the point.
That's the point. I'm so upset by this. I'm glad we get to share this because I've been waiting and I didn't know if you saw that too because it was in a couple places. It was on Reddit. I think even Rotten Tomatoes, although it looks like it's a little more favorable now than when was the last time you checked the reviews? Was it like right after or about the same time?
It was right after. I didn't see anything before because I just didn't want any feedback. I'm also like, I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes ever. I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't really either because anyone can be a critic too, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
And I feel like just giving something a rotten or a I don't like percentages. Like, I'm not a fan of the IMDb score. I think out of 10's too long. Give me an out of 5.
I totally agree with you. That's way too much. Out of 100, what percent? Like, it's too all over the place. What does 50% mean?
No. And also, like, no offense, but I don't really care about the, like, audience score.
I mean, I kind of like it as a feel, but I don't always agree with it.
I don't agree. I guess I just don't like it if it's sus to me. It's not that I don't like it. It's just if you're going to hop on Rotten Tomatoes on an account as just like a regular Joe like you and I and clickety clack, I'm like, that's sus. If you're going to do that, I think take it to the streets, meaning Letterboxd.
Yes.
Or the other streets, the dirtier streets, and take it to Reddit, where I really value your opinions.
Yeah, I love reading the Reddits. There was discourse, though, on there, too, where it was like the cinematography. Yeah, it was like dingy and shot, like shaky camera, like out of focus, this and that. And I'm like, that's what I loved about this film. I loved the cinematography. Another critique I saw was like the dialogue. Like there wasn't either enough dialogue or it was dumbed down. Like there wasn't enough to establish these characters. And I'm like, no, there definitely was. I loved the dialogue.
I did too. It wasn't like, I don't know if people are like,
they want to be fed plots, I think.
Well, I think that for sure. But I also think like the awards conversation, Gia Coppola as a filmmaker doesn't strike me as someone that is really like wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
In like awards baity stuff. But for some reason, The Last Showgirl, the discourse that I've seen, not to talk about the discourse so much, because our opinions on our podcast, Late to the Party with Nikki and Brie, matter the most in this moment.
That is correct.
But, I think the conversation about The Last Showgirl might have shifted a bit since, Pamela Anderson got the Golden Globes nomination. And people were like, was she snubbed? And I think that when you're thinking of a movie as like an Oscar contender, it puts it in a different spot in your mind. But I view Gia Coppola's work as it's such like a different thing. Like I would love to talk about her work in general because this is something that it's obviously like she's honing her style and honing her craft, and it's very Coppola-esque.
It is, yeah,
like woman Coppola-esque.
I love it.
But it's just not. I don't think her as a filmmaker, not to speak for her, but she doesn't seem concerned about perfect plot lines and clearly fleshed out characters. Like, that's not the point of this movie.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need it to be like, I think you get a good amount, like an idea of who these people are from their dialogue and like how they interact with each other. But I also like having the ability to kind of like think, like kind of imagine who they are in a bigger sense. You know what I mean? Like you kind of can run away with that.
I like that too. Well, you know, what I really responded to, it resonated with in this film is I know who Shelley is. And it's not because of her dialogue. It's just like there's something conveyed, whether it, you know, it's like Pam Anderson's performance and the directing and everything. I just know Shelley. I know Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Yes.
Like on a deep level, like we've all met that type of woman. You know, it felt like, to me, it felt like I was just watching along. It, like I was, you know, like a Kiernan Shipka or like a Brenda Song. It was like I only knew these characters on a certain light and certain level. Kind of like, you know, we're going to watch a Nora. But I kind of viewed watching these characters from like, I don't know, it's like something Sean Baker does really well, where I feel like I'm not judging these characters and I'm not like thinking in the way like it has to be a perfect cohesive plot or what's the story. I'm just like along for the ride with them and I'm on their level. Like I'm there. So I don't need to know, because in real life we don't know everything about everyone, and that doesn't matter.
That's so true. And I love how it addresses that. Like we really don't know everything like about anyone's experience at any given time. And yeah, like when she interacts with the girls, like you only know them from, I don't know. I don't know what my point is, but
yeah, no. And like I like love that, because I know I was in one of the interviews with the writer and Gia Coppola and the cast. The original like play turned into a screenplay. They had more of a backstory for the showgirls, like Brenda Song and Kieran Shipka's character, and they were more fleshed out. But I like that we just focus on Shelley and how she's kind of
dealing with everything.
Dealing with it. And I like that we don't know all about Shelley. Like we only know it from a certain vantage point. I like that.
I love it. Also, I didn't realize that showgirls were not a thing anymore. Like I thought this was like more of an imaginary scenario, and then when I looked it up, I was like, oh wait, they really don't have showgirls anymore in Vegas? What gives?
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know a lot about Vegas. Vegas is one of those places that I know times have changed. I know Vegas is where you go to see Shania or Celine. Or like, I know the Sphere has taken up a lot of space on the Strip. But yeah, this whole world's very interesting to me. Because obviously I know the theater world, but I don't know.
Yeah, there is something about Las Vegas. Well, the lights, I guess.
The glamour.
The glamour. You could maybe, in a way, compare it to a Moulin Rouge kind of deal.
The Vegas isn't like, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That's true.
But also it's one of those places where you could be in a casino or be on the Strip and like not realize if it's morning, afternoon, night, and just like time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Oh, do you
know where I'm getting?
Because in the movie, it's almost like time doesn't pass for her.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, because this whole entire film, The Last Showgirl, is about Pamela Anderson's character, Shelley, coping with the razzle dazzle closing. Do you want to just get into it?
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So let's bust out the plot so we can just go all over the place. So when the glittering Las Vegas Review she has headlined for decades announces it will close soon, a glamorous showgirl must reconcile with the decisions she's made and the community she has built as she plans her next act. So how familiar are you with Gia Coppola's work?
Not super familiar. I mean, I've seen Palo Alto with you. I remember we saw it in theaters. Was that a select theater thing? Do you know?
It was like at the local indie theater.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It had to be maybe like an indie situation. I remember really enjoying that movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, though. I don't think I've seen anything else she's directed. What is your experience?
Same. I mean, when when Gia Coppola comes to mind, I'm Palo Alto, which is a very informative movie for me as like I was a teen. So, yeah, I don't know. Palo Alto, back when it was released in like 2014, really resonated with me. It hit very hard. And I know her because, you know, she has Gia Coppola wines, which feature her photography on them.
Oh, snap. That's cool. I didn't know she had wine, too.
Well,
they all have wines.
Well, that's the beauty of being a Coppola.
Get your own wine line.
Yeah,
that's
Coppola
cool.
wines.
Which I keep forgetting she's Sophia's niece. I keep thinking they're sisters. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I guess. So the Francis Ford Coppola's children are Sophia, Roman, and then I forget his name, but he died really young, and that's the father of Gia.
Gotcha.
But it is like always a family affair.
What a talented fam.
Yes. I mean, Robert Schwartzman, one of my first celebrity crushes as a young child, he produced this movie.
Right. And he's part of the fam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who else? Oh. Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage. I don't know if he's ever involved. But
he's not involved.
But no, I watched Palo Alto a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous because that film was like, when I saw it as a teenager, I was like, this is the closest I've ever seen a high school movie to like, I resonated with April so much. And I was like, that's the closest I've ever felt to be like represented on screen, especially as a teenager. Does it hold up?
Does it?
It does. I mean, like, if people have a problem with a meandering plot in The Last Showgirl,
yeah, they're not gonna like.
Don't watch Palo Alto. But I think we need to give Gia Coppola her flowers a little bit, especially for people our age or like a little younger, like this Gen Z chokehold. Like I think Gia Coppola's Palo Alto infected our brains a little more than we may think on the surface. Like, we should be thanking her so hard because the soundtrack to Palo Alto is impeccable. It introduced me to Blood Orange.
Oh, snap. Really? That was your introduction to Blood Orange?
I don't know. I don't know if it was because I think I heard Blood Orange before. Like, I was familiar with Dev Hynes, but...
Yeah. But it changed things. It put it in a different context.
It completely did. Musical tastes were formed because of the Palo Alto soundtrack. Gotcha. So, also the Tumblr era. Like,
yeah, it is very Tumblr vibes. Mm-hmm. I really want to rewatch this one. Like, I want to watch a lot of, like, just... I know she hasn't made, like, a whole lot of films, but I know there's something, like, mainstream that came out a few years ago with Maya Hawke. And cool. Alexis Demi's in there, too.
You know what? Maya Hawke and Gia Coppola.
It makes sense, right? Yeah. I want to see it just for that, to see how
they
come together.
I'm excited. I'm such a Maya Hawke fan. I'm like, we're going to watch, to give away next week's episode, we're going to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm going to see little cameos by Maya Hawke.
Oh, yeah. That's
like,
right. She's in there, too.
Giddy. But, no, The Last Showgirl. Also, Palo Alto. Still very good. In retrospect... I got no notes. I mean, like, it's a vibe.
Yeah. It's like a slice of life,
right? A slice of life. It is a vibe. It is
beautiful cinematography again.
Beautiful. Like, I think it's held up surprisingly well. What I've noticed about Gia Coppola's work with Palo Alto and The Last Showgirl is she doesn't, like, impose on these characters too much. Like, she doesn't have like a stance like this.
She's, like, observing.
Yeah,
kind of like Sofia Coppola does that too, doesn't she? In a way.
Well, I see similarities between their work. I mean, it's kind of hard.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you pick up on any similarities between her and her cousin?
I feel like definitely visually, like they have a similar visual style. It's not exactly the same, but like similar color schemes, like using the light pink. I feel and like bokeh, you know. Like, there's something, like, The Last Showgirl's kind of visually similar to me, to, like, Lost in Translation, maybe. Just, like, the color toning, just being kind of cooler toned.
I can totally see that. Letting a scene, like, play out.
That, too.
Like, sitting with the scene.
Sitting with it, yeah, not having dialogue fill up every moment. Yeah.
I will say Gia Coppola is a little better at, like, creating more of a story.
Yeah, more dialogue and I think there's like, well, at least in the Last Showgirl, I thought there was a lot of humor in the dialogue, which I really enjoyed. I don't remember in Palo Alto if it was probably a little more snarky or like sarcastic humor, perhaps. Was there humor?
I think so. I know I just watched it. I wouldn't say it's funny. I think there's moments where as an adult now versus being a teenager where you're like, oh, I remember feeling this way. Oh, how silly or how trivial or, like, oh. But no, I don't know the Palo Alto is particularly funny.
Probably not.
But the Last Showgirl, I like the weird humor. Like, I like the zany moments in this film.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of zany moments that I really enjoy.
Yeah. I also just like how, like, I didn't realize until this watch of Palo Alto after all these years how Palo Alto, because of the novel by James Franco, it's like little short stories.
I totally forgot it was James Franco, by the way, that wrote that. That was like, that's odd.
Yeah, he's
like looking back, I was like, huh.
He's also in it,
and he's like the creepy guy. So it's like,
playing like the creepy soccer coach who hits on the teenager, which foreshadowing.
I know that's what a lot of people say. I was like reading the Reddit's like reviews of that as well, and people were like, that's foreshadowing.
Yeah, maybe Gia Coppola. I don't know. Maybe James Franco knew something. Who knows? Probably. It's all performance art. Who's to say?
Yeah.
But Gia Coppola, her casting choices are amazing. And
I agree.
Especially during that time, 2014, Emma Roberts was in a lot of films and a lot of TV. And I kind of ate all of it up.
Yeah.
I think she's underrated. I wish Emma Roberts was still acting. I don't know.
What's she doing?
She needs to be in another Gia Coppola film, in my opinion. But the movie, when Gia Coppola finds like an actor, and it just, because every time Emma Roberts is on screen, that the movie pops.
I agree. That's the most, like, I remember her parts a lot more than like the boy. I mean, maybe it's two because I'm like, oh, maybe I could see myself in her.
Well, same.
But I felt like her performance was memorable.
Yeah. Her and Nat Wolff is great in Palo Alto.
Is he the blonde boy?
No.
Or the other?
He's the asshole. Like the dark hair. He's Naked Brothers Band.
Naked Brothers Band. That's where I've seen him. Okay.
Talk about something that's like a very specific generational tie. It's if you know the Naked Brothers Band. But yeah, Nat Wolff from the Naked Brothers Band is in it, and he's really great as this character who's like a loose cannon. And at the time, because I was a teenager and I like knew people like this, it was like scary.
Yes, I remember being afraid of him. I'm like, oh, yikes.
And like being in like April's shoes or like being in, Jack Kilmer's shoes and being like afraid of this character almost.
Yeah, he's like ready to snap at any moment.
Yeah, and like looking back, I think he really got it. He got the work. I don't know. He shows up and shows out. Like Nat Wolff nailed it. I know it's 10 years too late, but like
give him his flowers.
Bravo. I don't know. I was like completely impressed. But it does remind me a little bit of the people in this film who really like latch on to the work. Like this is Pamela Anderson's reinvention. And I know she says in all these interviews, because she's humble and gracious and amazing, that anyone else could have played Shelley. But that's just not true.
Think so. Yeah.
She was made to play Shelley.
She killed it.
This is her show. Everyone else does an amazing job too. I think Jamie Lee Curtis.
I love Jamie.
I personally wasn't like a huge fan of her work in Everything Everywhere All at Once, but in The Last Showgirl, I read something about this character I was vibing with hard.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of know that. Like, I feel like I've met her before. And I loved, my favorite scene with Jamie Lee Curtis is when she dances on the table to Total Eclipse of the Heart.
It's a truly bizarre scene and just beautiful. Like, Bradley Cooper as, what's his face? The hairdresser guy.
The hairdresser?
In Licorice Pizza. What's his name? Barbara Streisand.
I don't remember him in that
owns
movie.
like Superman. Oh my God, what's his name? He's like a monster in real life. But like Bradley Cooper got nominated for an Oscar a couple years ago for this like little cameo essentially in Licorice
Pizza. See, I don't
Pizza.
even remember him being in there. I'm like, how did I miss this? Let me see. If I go to the cast, maybe it'll tell me. John Peters?
John Peters, yes. But yeah, he has this small role as John Peters. You know when they take like the big truck and it's like down the hill and he's like freaking out?
It's not ringing a bell. All I remember the water mattresses.
Mm-hmm.
I remember her being thirsty.
But there's, for me, this could have been Jamie Lee Curtis's like Bradley Cooper as John Peters.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just one of those like zany performances that's so like, this woman's in Jamie Lee Curtis's body. Like, I just feel like she also knows this woman on like an intrinsic level, like every fiber, you know, like,
yes,
you know, and apparently Jamie Lee Curtis, that was her choice.
Really? To get up there?
To sing Total Eclipse of the Heart. Because I guess there's, you know, throughout the casino, you know, there's the performers. And it was proposed to her, like, you want to do this? And she was like, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Hit it.
Hit it. Oh my God, I love it. I feel like we've all been like, we've all wanted to do that. Just get up on the table and vibe to our
Really?
song, to our jam. Yeah. In the middle of like, I don't know. She's technically at work and no one's even paying her any mind, which I thought was interesting. And there's maybe a few people looking, but in the background, they're kind of all ignoring her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a thing. Her and Shelley are kind of going, like, I feel like it touches on like maybe like aging and being like looked over.
Yeah. Well, and also like the Total Eclipse of the Heart scene. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis was at the, you know, the review. She was a part of the Razzle Dazzle and then like aged out of it, you know, and, you know, started working as a waitress. So this is kind of like her
Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah, her Razzle Dazzle, or like she's like, this is what I do best, except no one's looking at her now and it seems silly.
Mm-hmm.
And like Shelley is at a point too where, you know, like the younger showgirls are like, we got to move on, and they're auditioning and they're like getting, you know, auditions, and, you know, they'll be able to go on. But Shelley's kind of at this point where she spent 30 years in this one role. You know, most actors, most performers, you know, you move on from project to project, and she hasn't moved on. This was like her whole entire life. So like, where do you even go anywhere from there?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah.
Who is she? I feel like she goes through that, like an existential crisis too.
Yeah.
Also, this movie made me think of Showgirls in a way, just like the dynamics between the girls. And you know what I mean? Like they're the hierarchies that are in place and stuff. And it made me want to watch Showgirls again.
I love Showgirls. Love some doggy chow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned like women and aging. That's a big theme in this film.
Yeah. It's hard to ignore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like right there.
Yeah. And like a lot of films that we've seen recently, like The Substance and Maria, they all kind of deal, especially The Substance, deal with like women aging.
Yeah.
And this film deals with it in a very different way than The Substance for like the obvious reasons. But there's still some parallels between The Substance and this film in the way that like Shelley and then Demi Moore's character kind of feel about themselves. Maybe it's like, I don't know, like their confidence shaken a little bit, like realizing they are disposable.
Yeah.
And how disposable, because I think as a woman, like, especially like if you're a performer, you know deep down you are disposable. And I think when you're younger, you know, you can like pass it off and not, you know, like you can kind of live in the delusion. Like Shelley could probably live into the delusion, and now she's 50 and like
the delusion's wearing off.
Yeah. And then, you know, like one of the most heartbreaking scenes, or like the standout scenes for me, was the audition.
Oh, you mean when she like after they've already announced that the Razzle Dazzle's like closing, and she auditions for, is it for the circus? Is it that weird circus?
It's for the circus. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, you know, well, basically the guy tells her she's not talented.
And she's too old.
It was very blunt and very rude.
He's like he literally says, like, I'm not buying what you're selling.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the whole movie centers really around Shelley coming to grips with the Razzle Dazzle closing. And it sort of parallels her life because, you know, an era of her life's closing as well. And she's, I don't know, like the Razzle Dazzle was something that was really popular.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those shows, like real life shows were like popular back in the day and they meant something. And they were like glamorous and the epitome of like womanly beauty and glamour and glitz.
And the costumes.
In this movie, archived Bob Mackie costumes.
I didn't know that. Like when I was watching, I was so stunned. I was like, that's so awesome. Cause I saw like Pam Anderson talking about like the costumes, like having on the tags, like people's names. Like there were real women that wore these costumes. So there's like that history. I don't know. That part's really cool.
No, I love that as well. And you know, it's interesting to see all these, especially the way like Shelley and her character wears these costumes with such like reverence, and how there's like a running thing in the film where her wings keep snagging on the door.
Yeah.
And that is sort of like what is happening in her life and to the show. It's like no matter how much you try to like fix it. I mean, even at one point, you know, they're like deducting her pay so much.
That made me so mad.
But it's almost like a metaphor because she's, you know, by hand trying to like sew the wings back together or, you know, make this work. And it's something that in the film, like Vegas doesn't want the razzle dazzle anymore. And then when she goes to audition and, you know, she sees, you know, her colleagues, you know, at the audition as well or getting other opportunities. And seeing like how she's kind of expired and disposable and good.
Like she has nothing to show for this, like 30 years of work she's put in.
And like trying, and I view her like trying to put the wing back together. It's like, it's not, you're like forcing it at this point.
Yeah, like she does have trouble kind of moving on, like accepting that that's happening anyways. And then,
because it's her. Like I totally get it. Like, in the film, I keep thinking about that scene where she's with Dave Bautista. Like her, you know, like he's like the lighting guy / her ex.
Yeah.
And she goes and gets dressed up for this dinner, which Pamela Anderson in general, but especially Shelley, like our aunt, reminds me of Pam Anderson so much anyways, but Shelley.
When she was all dressed up.
Yeah. And just like when she's like, but this was what made me feel good.
Yeah.
That like joy and that purpose. Like, why does society turn their backs on women like that? It just seems cruel and unusual. And I like that Shelley makes that known to Dave Bautista and makes it known to the guy at the audition. And it's like,
right. Because she's like, well, you're going to be fine. She says to him, you know, because he's the lighting guy.
You can read a lighting cue.
Yeah. She's like, what about me? Like, what's going to happen to me?
But it makes me think about, because I think in a lot of films, like even the substance, you know, I mean, that's a different effect anyways, but we're taken to be like, oh, you're vain or you're struggling with aging, which means that like, that's something that needs to be like funny, or we as the audience should be like, you silly Billy. But I love that Gia Coppola has so much empathy for Shelley.
Yeah.
And like you do see it from her daughter, played by Billie Lourd. Like you see the other perspectives.
Right.
But at the end of the day, at least for me, I'm like, but I know where Shelley's coming from. Why does her feelings about this not matter anymore? Because she's of a certain age, because it's past their prime. She's not special like anymore, or she's not worthy of anything. Yeah. It can get stripped just like that. Like, that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. I know. I felt enraged. I mean, yeah, I feel like the whole time I just empathized with Shelley, even in the times where, like, well, first her daughter's not on speaking terms with her. And then she kind of tries to confront her. Like, her daughter confronts her and it's like, you chose this over me. it's like Shelley has like justified her reasoning, and you can like it makes sense. Like as like the audience, you can understand her motivations, even if she is Delulu, and you can kind of feel for her daughter as well. You're like, well, yeah, she was in the wrong for maybe doing some things, but then you're also like, oh, but she's like, because she believes in this so much and it's such a part of who she is. Like this is like her whole identity, and now it's being stripped away, and you just can't help but empathize with her, no matter how Delulu she is.
But I don't. And I know she is delusional. Like she's dancing around with a Walkman on. Like there's little touches where she's delusional, but
she does it for the art as well.
Yeah, like she really does like revere like this style of art, and like it does like ping me when Billie Lourd's character calls it a nudie show. I'm like, ugh, like I get Shelley's pain, but also like it's pretty terrible that, and this is such a nuanced thing that I'm really glad like is shown on film, because it's like very imperfect, but I think about it a lot. We're told growing up, like, be anything you want to be, make all your dreams come true, all these sacrifices. And then I think it's really interesting, Shelley's character has done that. Like she had success. Like the showgirls in the 80s, like in the 90s, they were like on top of the world, and she had success.
Yeah.
It's just not success by today's standards, but that's not that, like, I feel like everyone in the film tries to invalidate her.
Yes.
Like she's almost being gaslit. It's like she did everything she thought she was supposed to do, and she tried. And no one work as a mother. No one has her back.
No one has her back. No one has the same reverence as she does for the show. None of the other girls in the show, like they kind of make fun of her for like having this passion to them. They're like, oh, this is just a job, whatever.
Because they're coming from our point of view. Like if we were in this show, we'd be like, oh, this like old bitch.
Yeah.
That we love and is like a mother figure. But it's different when you're like living and breathing it,
Yeah.
Like the when Brenda Song and Kieran Shipka's characters, came to the review, it wasn't like on and popping like it was. Like
back in the day. Yeah.
They wouldn't know. Their frame of reference is so different, but just because they're young, that makes them more important. But then you can see that they're disposable because Brenda Song's character is like probably like late 20s, 30s, like starting to realize how people are looking at her a little like, you're almost gonna expire. And then Kieran Shipka's character is also, like super young in her early 20s, but also seeing, oh, like I'm also gonna be disposable too. It's like, no one cares about me. Time. And no one actually respects the youngest one anyways, because she's like doing like the striptease booty dances.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting, like the kind of back and forth between Shelley's character and her being like, what we do, this is classy. What you do is trashy. Like, I wouldn't do that kind of show. That's where I draw the line.
I mean, and that's very true. I mean, as someone, we're closer to Kieran Shipka's age. And if we went out there, I've not like those kind of auditions. I've never been in Vegas or anything, but like we know that our options as young people now.
They got two options: strip or lose. That's what Cardi B says.
Yeah, pretty much, Brie. Thank you for condensing what I was trying to say, because there's no like review for Kieran Shipka's character.
That's so true. Yeah.
Like no one values her anyways. Like no one is going to give.
It's a different game.
Yeah, it's a totally different game. At least Shelley got to feel the glamour.
Yeah.
Like the younger women don't get to feel the glamour. It's like,
it's a bummer.
Yeah, and I think that this whole film handles Shelley with a lot of grace and compassion, which is lovely. But it's also like, it's very true how the characters in the film treat her dreams once she became a certain age as the worst thing that you could do. Like betrayal, because you should be all these womanly things, like a mother or, You know, like justice for deadbeat moms that are living their dreams.
I was going to say.
Not doing, you know, that are living their dreams because
have a good reason.
Yeah, but men can do this. You know, speaking of Sofia Coppola, Somewhere is a film about a deadbeat famous dad who lives at the Chateau Marmont with his ice skating daughter Elle Fanning. It's a great film. It's very different and saying a lot of different things. But like, you know, that dude, Stephen Dorff's character, is a loser. And Shelley's not a loser.
No.
Like, she's vulnerable, but she's not a loser.
She does try, you know. And at the end of it, like, there is something about her where I'm like, she's an artist. Like, she believes in what she does. She believes in, like, dance and the glamour of it all. Like, I think there's something to that. There is an art to that.
The history.
Yeah, like, I feel like it does bother me when people in this movie, they just kind of poo-poo it. And then, like, the speech she gives her daughter where she's like, live your dream, you know, don't listen to what this other lady was telling you. Like, follow your dreams. Like, because her daughter wants to be a photographer. And she's at least encouraging her artistic abilities. So I don't know. I liked that element of Shelley's character where she's like an artistic kind of person. Because I feel like you could relate that to a lot of things if you're also an artistic person.
We have to fight for that in a way. Like, I'd rather be a Shelley than a Kimberly or whoever the stepmom is in a way, just because I don't know, to live a very like flawed and perfect life to me at least sounds more admirable than just being like, you have to be an accountant, even though you dream of being a creative. Like, what a
dull life.
What a dull, long life.
Yeah. I think it's a very romantic idea. And I just loved that about Shelley. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, she may be a deadbeat mom though in the process, but
probably maybe.
But you know, is Dave Bautista, is that her baby daddy?
I think so.
Right? I'm pretty sure, but he doesn't have any involvement in his daughter. Like, I don't even think she knows that that's her dad.
Yeah,
because there's that scene where she's like, does she know who you are? And he's like, no. So like,
he can be a deadbeat, but she can't be a deadbeat,
right?
Because she's the mother. I don't know, man. But Shelley is someone that really does, you know, view being a showgirl as an art form. And I do see obvious parallels to Pamela Anderson's, like, reinvention of sorts. You know, a couple years ago, like last year, you were like, Nikki, we got to talk about Pam Anderson going makeup free.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's a two most wanted situation where I didn't realize at the time exactly what Pammy was cooking with, you know? She was cooking.
She was.
And I just didn't realize it until after seeing The Last Showgirl, everything came together for me in a way. Like, I think before we talked about her going makeup free and having her pickle life in Vancouver.
I know. Like, as soon as I like read her, like, I don't know if it was, I can't remember what magazine, she had this whole article about going makeup free and that sort of, and like pickling. And I was like, oh my God, I love her now. I think it's funny too, because the fact that she went makeup free, I think her makeup artist died.
Yeah.
But she just kind of kept with it. She didn't really think about it too much, but she was like, you know what? I'll just stick to that. You know, because you could hire another makeup artist or something. Yeah. But she's like, yeah, this is fine. I'll go with this for now.
What I love so much about Pamela Anderson, just in general, is she doesn't seem like a really calculated person.
Yeah. And she's not thinking like one step ahead.
And that's truly an it girl. Like, as much as we love on one hand, but also crucify because we're all misogynists. We love a Taylor Swift mastermind. Really, like, Pamela Anderson is that girl, but also like a true it girl. Because the whole point, the whole reason we love her is because of her soul.
Yeah.
Because she's not super calculated. You know, like, I think that's why we as like a collective always root for her. At least our generation does. I know it's a little different. Speaking of our aunt.
Oh, okay.
I did talk to her
about Pamela Anderson.
What
did she say?
Well, she gave me some context because we're the same age as Pamela Anderson's sons. So we know Pamela Anderson post Baywatch,
Yes.
post Playboy. You know, our frame of reference for Pamela Anderson is in the rear view. And now, you know, we're like, oh, 90s, you know, like we've seen, you know, like she's iconic. Heather Biblow
in The Nanny.
We've seen the Nanny reruns.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're not the only one. I love that YouTube comment we got just about seeing the Nanny reruns.
Yeah.
And just being like, this is our show. But we know her from Heather Biblow from the Nanny reruns.
Yes, it's like, yes, she has acted before. Recognize.
Yeah. She's in Borat.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, like, we know Pamela Anderson is, like, an icon. Like, I've never seen it. I don't want to speak for you, but I've never seen Baywatch.
I've never seen Baywatch either. I did rewatch Borat recently, and they do flashbacks of Baywatch, which is that's as much as I've seen.
But that's, like, a part of like our American lexicon.
Yeah, we just all know that her and David Hasselhoff, because I saw the SpongeBob movie.
Yeah.
And like I know he's in Baywatch.
You know, we've seen all the things parodying Baywatch as well, of like running and like.
Yeah, the slow-mo.
Remember when we were in Nostalgia Podcast? Yes. Remember when we were in Nostalgia Podcast and we had this realization that we actually could not be a Nostalgia Podcast because
we didn't fully experience it and our brains weren't fully developed.
Yeah. It's like we were 90s
5
babies, 2000s kids, which implies that we don't have a firm grasp on any of that, so we can't be super nostalgic for it.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of things that parody things.
Yes. That's
So we're
like The Matrix. It was like we hadn't seen The Matrix, but we know of it and get the general idea.
You know, like Bullet Time because you've seen whatever. Or I saw Scary Movie before I saw Scream, or I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Right. Yeah, some of those movies.
Know?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Anyways, point is, Pamela Anderson is an icon, and I think our generation loves Pamela Anderson. Loves her spirit, almost like in a Britney way.
Yeah.
There's just something about her that we love, and we look at the pictures of her in the 90s with
those
like
eyebrows,
the fuzzy hats. Yes.
I was going to say her outfits, her makeup look.
We see like photos of like, was it barbed wire, and we're like, slay, like iconic. But apparently back in the real life 90s and early 2000s, when Pamela Anderson was Pamela Anderson Inc. Yeah, misogyny ran rampant, like internalized misogyny.
Yeah.
So what I was told by our aunt was that a lot of people her age and her generation, or, you know, a little younger, that were there during the time didn't like Pamela Anderson because they didn't like the idea of like a bimbo. So like in The Nanny, Heather Biblow is like the arch nemesis to Fran Fine. That's kind of how women viewed Pam. Or maybe even not that, because I'm sure they like, someone was having, like, someone went to see Barbed Wire and someone watched Baywatch. I don't know.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a show called VIP that people really liked. I just heard about it this past week.
She was in it? Or
she was in it.
Huh.
And it looked like Charlie's Angel style, but I don't know. But I think it was like, it's one of those things like, remember in the 2000s, like the guy pretty versus girl pretty, and people weren't going to like Megan Fox because she was guy pretty. It's like stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, I could see where you're going with that.
I guess long story long. Not really a story, more like a long anecdote. People didn't really, like, this reinvention is at the perfect time, the perfect place. And I can see a lot of Pamela Anderson and Shelley parallels.
Yeah, like how she's reinventing herself. I feel like that's like,
and desiring for something more than just being the sex symbol.
Yes. Yes. I love that about her. Like, I think that's what makes me want to root for her as well. Just like the fact that she's been trying to like reinvent herself. And like after seeing her documentary, it seems like she's constantly had to reinvent herself. And it seems like society's done her wrong, you know?
Men have done this woman so wrong.
Yes. And
women, I guess. But
yeah. Everyone. But it's just crazy to me, like, because, you know, in the documentary, did you end up seeing it or
I watched
some of
a
it?
little bit more, and I really respect it, but it's a bummer a little bit.
It does get better, I think.
Yeah.
But what I thought was interesting is just like how she was talking. Like, it tells the story of like how she even got on Baywatch. That was kind of interesting because she didn't really do a lot to get on. It was like very much like a happenstance. She was at the right place, right time, sort of thing. She was at like a baseball game, I think, and I think it was baseball or football. Maybe it was football,
I think. But yeah, you're talking about when she gets discovered on the Jumbotron?
Yeah. And then from there she became like a little bit of a model, like it girl, and then bam, Playboy wants her. It was kind of crazy the way her career took off. But then just constantly having the dream of like wanting to be an actor, like just wanting to like do something more and not just be focused. She was like, did the Playboy thing, and she's like ready to move on from it.
Well, I mean, she tells the story now. She's told it a couple times, but most notably in her iconic Criterion closet, about, you know, being in Playboy and like reading like Samuel French and like Eugene O'Neill and like all these plays and like all these things, and being like, oh, I'd love to do that, but just thinking it was like so far away from her.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was for a while, I guess, because of her image.
Yeah. I mean, 30 years far away from her.
Yeah. I don't know. It just upset me. I was like, And it's so crazy, though, because now it's like, I feel like Gia really gave her like a good opportunity to show off her chops and do something. Like, I love seeing her like do something that she wants to do as well. Like Pam Anderson, just going for things.
Getting to sink her teeth into it. And I like love that, I don't know, it subverts glamour in a lot of ways. This going like makeup free. And I don't know, I think it's a really cool like era for Pamela Anderson. Also, I think because her sons are the reason, the one son especially, you know, helped her get The Last Showgirl and did the documentary.
Ooh.
And I think there is something to be said about like, well, sons that like love their mom and respect their mom and want the world to see her and kind of the way she wants to be seen and that they see her, you know, but like having people in her corner, like her sons and, you know, like Gia and like Jamie Lee Curtis signed on because she wanted to work with Pamela Anderson. So like people in her corner that kind of see her in a different light. Because I think that's all it really takes, is to just see all the sides of you.
Right, yeah, because obviously she's more than just her looks.
But she's also her looks.
But she is, yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to have one or the other. That's like the craziest thing.
It's just crazy that we look at celebrities a certain way, or like maybe like view women a certain way. And maybe not us specifically, but just, you know.
Certain people. But I think that's changing, and like generationally, like I like that it's kind of her reinvention's kind of told from like, not told from her son's point of view, because it's definitely Pamela Anderson's point of view. We're getting to know so much about Pamela Anderson now.
But we do hear from her sons in the documentary too. They do, you know.
But I guess we get to this reinvention. The catalyst was her sons, kind of in this generational, like, things have changed, times have changed. We're ready for you now.
Yes.
Like, you can be the sex symbol, and you can also have pickles, and you can wear no makeup sometimes.
Yeah, you can do it all.
And then when you do wear makeup and you do have that iconic Pamela Anderson thing, we're going to be like, oh my God, you're iconic and you're doing the thing. And we love you then too. Yeah. It's like, we're ready for Pam Anderson now.
I thought it was interesting, like, hearing from her sons. They both had different perspectives because, like, well, this is what I didn't know, but like her and Tommy Lee, the whole sex tape debacle, it was like a stolen tape and then other people profited from it and all that. I didn't know any of that till recently because I didn't watch the Pam and Tommy thing. Like, I didn't realize that's what it was about. And now I definitely will not.
I cannot. It's not in my heart of hearts.
Yeah. Now that I know how she feels, I'm like, that's a betrayal.
We can't betray Pammy like that. Pammy forever.
Pammy forever. But it's funny because at some point, she talks about it in the documentary that like someone had offered her rights to the film or something, or she could make money off of it, and like she could sign something and have the opportunity to make money off of this. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to put this all behind me. Like, this shouldn't even be out there. And one of her sons was like, you know, I don't know why she didn't sign that paper, because she lived, you know, paycheck to paycheck for a while, and then the other son's like, yeah, I'm glad she didn't because, you know, she was just trying to protect us. And, you know, she was thinking of all, you know, her family and friends. And I don't know. I thought that was interesting, though, that they had like different takes on like that. I guess it's like where we are now, where you can be kind of fully fledged. And
well, I mean, also it's insane that that was like a real thing that happened and a real source of pain for her. However, Kim Kardashian did the blueprint. And if, I don't know, depending on who.
But wasn't that leaked as well? Or no, you think
that was leaked, but I don't know.
Leaked?
I don't know. I think that.
Isn't that crazy that became a trend, though?
Yeah.
After that. So it's crazy. I didn't realize that their sex tape was the first internet, like, celebrity sex tape to be, like, leaked or whatever. And because, like, I feel like growing up, we've heard of a lot of celebrities like that happen to. And it was so confusing to me, like, how this could happen. Or, like, do people want this to happen? And then they'd become famous.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a weird way to become famous. But, like, Pamela Anderson was already famous.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee was also
he was already famous,
like, super famous.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know. I just think that's an interesting trend.
Very interesting.
And I'm like, where are we on that now? Like, how do we feel about celebrity sex tapes? Like, I feel like that's kind of, to me, I wouldn't want to watch one because I'm like, ooh, that's.
Yeah, I think we went from like celebrity sex tapes to, I mean, this was even old, but like the Sony leaks situation of like looking at like a Scarlett Johansson or Jennifer Lawrence nude on the internet for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like just in the 2000s,
what is wrong with our society?
Totally something's wrong, but I feel like the 2000s were just an interesting time for celebrities on the internet.
Right?
And, you know, now things aren't like that, but
that's true.
Know, it's interesting. I think it started with Pam and Tommy Lee, and it probably ended with Kim Kardashian because she was the person that made her whole career on it. And I don't say that in a misogynistic way. I say that in a real way.
Yeah.
Like, Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner took everything that they knew and their business savvy about celebrity culture and turned it into something like way bigger. And we're on the tail end of that now. So, like, we're kind of almost in a post-Kardashian world now.
That's true. That's so weird to think about.
I never thought that would happen.
Yeah. I thought the Kardashians would always be relevant. Won't they find a way? I mean.
Right? I don't know. I do remember as a kid watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or was that just me?
I mean, I've seen snippets, and I've watched. I'm pretty late to the party on the Kardashians.
That first season was life, Brie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did start watching it, I think, during the pandemic. It was very entertaining.
I think you had to be there in real time, though.
It hit different.
Like, I want to interview all the people that, like me, saw Kendall and Kylie that first season of Keeping Up, and were like, oh my gosh, okay. Like, talk about the blueprint in a different way. Be seeing like Kylie Jenner on the stripper pole and being like
that's right. They were fooling around like that.
But I don't know, what was my point? I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. Everything's a circle.
Yeah, true.
Because now, you know, Pamela Anderson is, you know, she got an Oscar buzz for this performance, and she does a really good job as Shelley. Like, I'm locked in. I don't think she hits a wrong note, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't think anything was like cheesy. I thought it was perfect. Like, her performance was perfect. I really believed that this character was real, you know? And it felt so like vulnerable.
So real.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anyone says. Like, this performance out of Pamela Anderson.
Yeah. She has depth.
So crazy. She does an amazing job in this film. Like, I saw like snippets of her in 2022 in Chicago as Roxy. Not the same. Not giving the same.
It's not. I don't think it's on the same level emotionally, probably.
Probably not. But, like, you know, you could see, you know, her, like, not naivete, but, like, her greenness.
Yeah.
Not in The Last Showgirl. She knows Shelley, and this is in a performance that is going to be like looked at in time is so underrated, like criminally underrated.
I know. I feel like we need to be talking about this more. Like there should be more buzz around this movie.
Yeah. Also, seeing the leap in performance from just like 2 years time from her doing like Roxy Hart to this, that's insane growth.
Yeah. She must have studied too. Like I think she's committed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she made up her mind and was like, okay, I have this opportunity. I'm going to go all in. And then with getting to be like Roxy Hart, I think she talks about having experience now, like being backstage and kind of having that energy of like, we got to get ready. We have to hurry up because we got to change our wardrobe, you know, and like all the dynamics. I thought that was cool. Like so that she has like that insight and then she can bring it to her character. I'm like, oh, it's cool. It was really cool to see the actors on actors with her and Mikey Madison. I'm like,
yeah, what did you think of that?
I loved it. It really makes me want to see Enora as well.
See Enora.
But I loved, it seems like she had like so much respect for like, I don't know what it is about Pam Anderson, but she seems like so down to earth. Yeah. And I loved how she just let Mikey Madison like speak and go off. Like she's not like someone that will interrupt you.
No.
She's like, you say your piece. I'm going to tell you. Like it's, I don't know.
Like there's a motherly figure as well, or like someone that's seen the world in so many different angles. It's fascinating. And like to see Pamela Anderson's like respect for Mikey Madison is also like really refreshing as well.
Right. Cause I'm trying to remember what exactly in the interview like Mikey Madison was saying, but they were both in a similar situation of like not having a lot of acting experience, I think. But just having that drive and the passion behind it. I don't know. It seemed like they were bonding over that. Whoever puts together, like whoever decides what actors get to talk to the other actor,
it was genius.
It was genius. I've been really enjoying those actors on actors lately.
Oh my God. Have you seen the Coleman Domingo Kieran Culkin one?
No.
That's the one.
Really?
That's the one, Brie.
I'm intrigued though. I think it's on my to watch list.
That's gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that one's like funny and like interesting in a different way. Pamela Anderson and Mikey Madison have way too much like poise for shenanigans.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very poised. They were kind of serious, but I was like inspired, like listening to them talk. And
it's like, I don't know. I mean, like Mikey Madison is a different generation than Pam, you know, and like I like seeing how, you know, I think sometimes older women can be really cruel to younger women. And it's really nice like to see like their relationship and their rapport with each other.
Yeah.
Just be so graceful. And so like I never felt like Pamela Anderson was judging Mikey Madison. Like I know from that Actors on Actors, like people took out that Mikey Madison said that they opted not to have an intimacy coordinator.
Yeah.
And they kind of ran with that. And like they were, you know, like there's headlines that were like Pamela Anderson, you know, is like tisk tisk.
No, but that's not how it went. If you listen to the conversation, they probably took it out of context then. Yeah, because she was just asking out of curiosity if she had one in that film. And she was like, no. But I mean, I hate when people take things out of context.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I thought it was more interesting that she genuinely was curious because I don't think intimacy coordinators existed, you know, when Pamela Anderson was
probably needed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like I think that's interesting too, seeing someone, you know, that's playing, you know, like not in the same. Mikey Madison is definitely not like Pam Anderson, you know, like at 25.
Right.
You know, but
they played similar characters
in
their films, sort of.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like just times have changed a little bit. People have to be a little more accountable, at least.
Yeah.
On some level. Or like at least, you know, have things like an intimacy coordinator where Pamela Anderson, it seemed like a lot of her life in the public eye was always trying to like jump over a wave, if that makes any sense, if that analogy makes any sense. Like she'd get a lot of hype, Baywatch and Playboy and being a sex symbol, and then the sex tape, and then she was on, you know, VIP and kind of did movies for a little bit, and then
you
know,
A lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Like, speaking of like opportunities and things that she was getting, she almost got like the Last Showgirl almost didn't happen, right? Because Gia Coppola was trying to hunt her down and sent something to like her old agent or something, and they were like, nah. And it was her son, right? That was like, that's how it came together.
Yeah, Gia or someone in Gia's camp sent it to the son, and the son got it to her.
That's so crazy. Like, imagine if she hadn't made this movie. But this was meant for her.
This was meant for her. I don't think this movie could have been done or anything without Pamela Anderson. Like, she is Shelley. She was born to play Shelley. I thought it was interesting bringing it back to Sofia Coppola parallels or comparisons. It very much reminds me of how Bill Murray, Sofia Coppola hunted Bill Murray down.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm just gonna go for it. Also, their short shooting schedules. Like, this was like crazy. An 18-day shoot or something.
Yes. Only 18 days. That is wild. You can't really tell. That blows my mind. I loved it though. I love how it was shot on the 16 millimeter, and maybe the energy of having a quick shooting schedule isn't a bad thing. Like, there's so many movies I feel like that turn it out in like a short time span. I'm always like surprised. I'm like, what? You only did that in like a month or whatever?
I mean, I think that's the beauty of it. Like, you know, we're gonna see some really like cool movies. I know we have I don't know if you busted out we have a new theme song.
Oh yeah, we do.
But I don't know if we're gonna bust out the Oscars theme this year.
We can.
But we're celebrating the Oscars all month.
Yes.
Leading up to our Oscars recap the week after the Oscars. So we're going to watch some really interesting films. We're going to watch, you know, a lot of the Oscar contenders, but we're also going to talk about in depth a movie by an auteur and Honora. By another auteur. Like, Sean Baker's work is really fascinating to me. Another person who, you know, almost guerrilla style or pseudo guerrilla style, like short days or short, you know, filming schedules. And I don't know, like, I think there is something in shooting on film. Yeah. I think there is something to like that energy of like, you have to get it right, like almost like theater. And that fascinates me. And I think like that bodes well for auteurs.
I think it does too. Yeah.
So we'll have to see on this watch. We'll have to see, like, you know, like we're watching a Gia Coppola film, you know, this week. We're going to watch Tarantino, who's, you know, like this, but on steroids because, you know, it's Tarantino at this point. But then like Sean Baker, like pull it back with him, and then, you know, watch James Mangold do his like super polished studio thing. Like, I wonder at the end of the day what we're going to really vibe with.
I wonder.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of ways to make an omelet and a lot of ways to make a film.
Yeah, that's what it got me thinking. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's all you need sometimes, you know, like, I'm sure the budget in this film probably went to those costumes.
Well, I mean,
no,
I don't know. Did they just borrow them? Because this is where the Nepo baby perks
might come in handy. Yes.
Because the costume designer for The Last Showgirl is Gia Coppola's mom. And they were lent the archive Bob Mackie. So
they were lent. Yeah.
And much like similarly to Sofia Coppola, a lot of the actors in this film, not the main ones, but, you know, we see it's in Palo Alto as well. Like, Gia Coppola's just friends, family.
Yeah.
They're all in it.
I see what you're saying.
In Palo Alto, they use Gia Coppola's mom's house.
Right.
So, you know.
Yeah, maybe it's just the Nepo babies have a way of getting what they want. Like Sofia Coppola getting to shoot in the real palace.
Yeah.
Like, is it Palace of Versailles?
Versailles, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they just have a way.
But, like, why not?
Why? If you have the resources, if you can get the Bob Mackie lent to you.
That's the way to be a Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Like, use it for good. But we'll also watch Sean Baker, who's, like, I don't believe in Nepo baby, and we'll see how he turns it out. And he does turn it out.
Okay.
He always turns it out. But so it's possible.
It's possible. You don't have to be a Nepo baby, but if you are, use it for good.
Yeah. Probably. Do you think a lot of the budget went to casting?
Brenda
Song.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what? I can't remember what I've seen him in.
Jamie Lee Curtis,
probably all went to Jamie Lee Curtis, actually, now that we think about it. Yeah.
Maybe the rights to Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Actually,
like
probably. That's the most expensive. Yeah, I would think.
But isn't that like a fun thing to like use your budget just like on needle drops, like Lady Bird?
Yeah, I love that. I love a good needle drop in a film.
I don't remember if actually Lady Bird. I don't know if they just. I don't know how that actually. I don't remember. But that stuff fascinates me. It's like, what do you spend your budget on when you're directing a film?
Yeah,
because like if you're a good director, I guess you wouldn't need.
You make it work.
Yeah.
Use what you have, I guess.
Yeah. Which is like, I love that energy, which is why I love the cinematography in this film. And I love that some scenes look like you're in a too stuffy, smoky room.
It's just visually stunning is what it is. And it's almost like its own character. I don't know. I can't get over it. I've been thinking about this movie since we've seen it. And just the visuals are just, they blow me away. And like, especially that last scene where Shelley's performing and like her eyes are a little teared up, but she's like, looks so proud and stuff. And like, just like her outfit and just all the colors and
those like the vibrant blues, and the pinks.
And her eyes are blue.
Yeah.
Just really popped. I don't know.
Do you think Shelley was a good performer, or do you think that was also like a part of the delusion?
Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to say because I wonder this. I really want to rewatch this film actually and see what I can take from it because I was looking on like a Reddit, like a subreddit. They were saying like there's a lot of theories out there of what is real and what's in her mind and what isn't. Like I think for sure the scene at the end where she sees her daughter there, like she's really not there to see her perform. Like that's all in her head, of course. Like that's pretty obvious. But some people are saying that whole scene is not even real. Like that maybe she was in a car crash.
What?
And and I'm like, I don't remember her being in a car crash, do you?
No. What?
So I'm like, I need to rewatch this movie because there's quite a few people being like, yeah, I think she's maybe dying or something. And I was like, what? Did I miss something? Are people really reaching with this theory? But,
that's odd.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. But just, what is real and what isn't? I mean, she had to be good at some point to be the top showgirl. But I wonder for how many, it had been years, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, she was still like like the oldest or, like the one with the biggest headdress and whatever. But I wonder if, how like sometimes, I hate to say past their prime because that's stupid. But, like maybe she was the best in like the 80s and 90s at the top of her game. And like, when you can still tell like someone had it at one point.
Yes.
But everything's just a little stale. That's kind of how I interpreted it.
Like maybe she just doesn't have it. Like it's true that maybe
it's like not modern, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder like as far as her dance abilities, I don't know cuz there's like a scene where she's like at home and just practicing like ballet or something. She seems really into the dance. And then she takes it to the audition. And it's not bad, but it is a little basic, to be honest. And then there's a couple people that are like, yeah, you're not a very good dancer. And I was like, oof, but then I'm also thinking about like, what do showgirls, like, what is the dance? Like, maybe, is there something more to it other than just dancing that she brings? Like an energy or like, of the razzle dazzle, like performing.
The beauty, maybe.
The beauty. Yeah. I don't know, though. It's hard to tell because I feel like we don't get... What I thought was really interesting is we don't actually see them perform a lot. We see a lot of the backstage and a lot of, like, running onto the stage and then coming back, getting snagged on the wings getting snagged. And then the only time I think we really see them on stage performing is at the end.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was very interesting.
I mean, it's almost like, does it matter?
I don't think it really does.
Because, like, obviously she was good at some point, and, like, everything like that is subjective. And,
yeah,
it is true to a certain degree what the guy at the audition says about, like, you probably got that role in some way because of your looks, especially to fit like a certain look of that time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't know. I just like justice for Shelley. Everyone tries to diminish her success. Maybe it's also about going out with grace, but why do you have to go out as a what? I don't know. Shelley just needs a reinvention like Pamela Anderson.
Pivot. She just doesn't seem like she's in a good place for that.
Yeah, but pivot. I never saw her get into a car accident.
I don't remember that.
That didn't happen in this movie, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to rewatch if that's what happened, because I feel like I would have. I'm like trying to think, like, yeah.
It's reaching. Also, this isn't like a thriller. Like,
no.
That doesn't seem very Gia Coppola.
Although it did make me think of Black Swan a little bit. Just like the hierarchy of the performers and maybe wanting to be perfect, like getting all dolled up, having like actual hallucinations here and there, but not as scary.
Yeah.
Not as like life or death.
Yeah. I see like Shelley's delusions in such like a
cutesy way.
Like a underscore, like not an underscore, under lowercase d.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. A lowercase d delusions, not like.
Yeah, I don't think they're as grandeur as I read in like some of the comments. I'm like, yeah, seems like a lot. I don't think she was doing all that.
Can't a woman have dreams at any age?
It was also interesting because didn't she say she almost joined the Rockettes? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I forget why.
But something about the razzle dazzle.
It doesn't
that
speak
was
to
her
her
home, and that spoke to her. And what's wrong with that? Like, I think like
that's another thing is like when you are part of like a performance. Like I've never really been in this situation, but like from just like what I can imagine, like you build like a community with these like with people,
a family,
like a family. Yeah, you're performing every night, pretty much. You build I mean, you've done a lot of theater.
Yeah, you build a family. I mean, I think a lot of times performers, or if you're in theater, it's
but then the show's over. You get used to it.
Yeah, it's like finite. You move on to the next thing. Like actors or working actors, especially in theater, are always like on to the next thing. Like when I was doing professional theater, like all of us, like we got like 2-hour breaks and we just like be like set up with our phones doing, an audition or like a self-tape or something, like there's always something.
Yeah, but for the showgirl.
Well, showgirls are, I think I don't know anything about showgirls in real life, but from my understanding, it's like they were like figures. Like I don't know how to equate it. Like I'm sure there's a male equivalent, but just, like not Siegfried and Roy or whatever, but they were like the Vegas people. Like it was just like a career at one point, and then it became not because no one cared about it anymore, and like no one valued it like that. And I just think like when time goes on, sometimes we don't value certain things, but that doesn't mean they're less valuable. Like just because,
yeah. Wasn't there an episode in Glow? Do you remember Glow? Weren't they in Vegas and weren't there showgirls? Like wasn't there? Didn't someone go to someone else's performance? I remember that being like a standout thing in that show for some reason.
I vaguely remember when they go to Vegas, but I loved Glow.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that like I think there's like a scene where there's showgirls and it's like a big deal still at the time. There's like a glamour to it.
And I mean, hey, I don't know. Is that the worst thing that can happen?
Being a showgirl?
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm just like it bothers me in this movie that everyone's just like whatever.
Yeah, they're so like apathetic to it.
Yeah.
And her whole world is crumbling around her. Her whole like life's legacy.
Yeah. Wanting to have a legacy. It's all very interesting. And I really applaud Gia Coppola for like not passing a lot of judgments on it.
Yeah.
And just it warmed. I really loved this movie. Like I haven't seen this movie. It's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks since we had our little double feature, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm still riding for Shelley.
Yeah,
in my head.
It's a beautiful film. I'm almost like, is it like I struggled with this because I was gonna add it to my letterbox, like because we saw Baby Girl as well, and I'm like they're both really great films, but I think I don't know. I think The Last Showgirl might be my favorite film right now. And I might give it 5 stars.
Is it going to be in your top 4? Your letterbox 4?
I don't know. It's possible. That's the thing. I only have 2 in my top 4.
I know you need to round out the top 4.
Oh,
also, why is it Norbit?
That's what I was just gonna say. Norbit should be up this, so it's gonna be. Oh my gosh! So far, it's like Kill Bill, The Godfather, and then Norbit and The Last Showgirl. That's in my top 4, possibly.
Hey,
what's in your top 4?
Black Swan, The Devil Wears Prada, Spirited Away, Lost in Translation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah, like. But that's just because I've maybe unintentionally made those 4 movies my entire personality for so long. So, yeah, you just need to make some movies your entire. Well, Norbit.
I'm on the way. Yeah, and now The Last Showgirl.
But yeah, do you think she was snubbed at the Oscars?
Well, hang on now, because let me see who else was nominated. I'm trying to remember.
Mikey Madison for Anora.
Yeah.
Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez. But you know, we'll see. That story's still unfolding.
Oh yeah, Cynthia.
Oh yeah, Cynthia Erivo, right?
1, 2. They could, because they can only have 5, right? They have like a limit.
Is it Isabella Rossellini or is she supporting actress?
She is. No, she's. Oh no, she's supporting. Hold on, they're right next to each other. Whoops. Okay, it's Cynthia Erivo, Carla Sofia Gascon, Mikey Madison, Demi Moore.
It's okay, me.
Don't come for me. Fernanda Torres. So, in a way, yeah. Like I wish they had more like spaces.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like she should be recognized. At least, like that she's, you know. I mean, in my heart, like she's a winner. You know.
Yeah.
What I thought was so cool is she was like, yeah, I feel like the reward is the work.
She said the win is in the work. And I do believe that. Like
sometimes not. Sometimes like the best performances or performers do get overlooked. It happens.
We see it time and time again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't seen it yet.
I know. I'm like,
but Amelia Perez.
Yeah, I'm like, should that be there? I don't know because I haven't seen it, but I know there's a lot of discourse on that film.
A lot.
So,
but you know, I don't know. I still need to see Amelia Perez. I want to see it for myself.
I want to see it. I want to see if it moves me emotionally or if it moves my hips to the beat. See if Selena Gomez does a solo.
And I have a feeling Fernanda Torres is probably really great. We're gonna see that. So,
I have a feeling.
You know,
and I know the other 3 are great.
Yeah.
So
we will eventually see all of them.
Yeah.
We'll
have a real
thought. I don't know. On one hand, I'm like, she was snubbed. I mean, obviously. But
this film also didn't get any nominations.
No. I don't think this film is like
it's not an Oscar it's not like what people think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a very well done film, but I don't feel like Gia Coppola makes movies for the Oscars or for like the Academy.
This is good, probably.
Yeah.
It
doesn't mean it's lesser than just because it's not like an Oscar film. Like it's fine. Like it does not everything has to be like.
Maybe that's something too. It's what I thought was really beautiful? Pamela Anderson talking about like her Criterion picks. Honestly, I didn't know any of those films she was talking about, but she seems like a cinephile for real. And I think it's beautiful that she appreciates film like that. And
well, she loves David Lynch. You've seen Blue Velvet.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That was the one that was one I recognized. But, the other ones, I was like, oh, like, yeah, it's okay if it's not every film has to be catered to the Academy.
Yeah. Like, speaking of David Lynch, the Academy famously didn't really respond to his work. And David Lynch, I mean, we call things Lynchian. We wouldn't have Lana Del Rey without David Lynch. Like, his impact is so palpable. So it doesn't It doesn't move the needle. Like, it's not all about, like, we love the Oscars. They're our Super Bowl, but it's not everything. And Pamela Anderson's performance, it is in the work. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a beautiful moment for her in her career and her life story. That, like, it's almost a good thing she wasn't nominated. It was a good thing she wasn't, like, she was snubbed because, well, for one, she has another, you know, she's going to have more work because of this. It's going to get more work and more opportunities, and, you know, who knows what will happen. But it's also like she gets to stand on her own with this film and in her work. We'd be so focused on, like, the competition or that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's nice that, you know, because, you know, like, with the conversations, like, Mikey Madison was the front runner, and then everyone was like, Carla goes Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, and, you know, and then now we're like, oh no, look at her problematic tweets and behaviors, you know, and she's
really?
like, yeah, she's fallen from grace too.
Oh
And,
no.
like, we're always, you know,
yeah, we're always judging.
Yeah. So, and we're like, oh, Demi Moore is going to win for The Substance because the Golden Globe speech. But it's crazy that we're talking about it like we are in fantasy football. Like, at least we get to talk about Pamela Anderson in this film, in The Last Showgirl, as a piece of work, a body of work.
Yeah,
and
maybe that's better.
Like, yeah.
It's not concerned with all that.
Yeah. We're not, like, holding, like, a picture of Pam Anderson and like, Fernanda Torres and being like, now choose.
Yeah. True. It speaks for itself.
Yeah. That's not quite fair. Stop pitting women against each other.
Yeah.
They're all winners.
Oh, you get an Oscar and you get an Oscar. No.
Yes. Just break it all. Break the
oh, yeah. Like, break the man, like the tiara in Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. That's what we should be doing. Who's brave enough? Maybe Demi.
Yes.
She seems like she might.
Definitely.
I really did love her speech.
Too.
But
I don't know. Who do you think's going to win the Oscar for Best Actress?
I don't know. I almost want to say Cynthia Erivo, but I think I also want. It's like crazy because I want so many people to win, and you really can't. Like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
But Demi is so good. Maybe Mikey Madison because she's like so fresh.
She would be the youngest.
That would be wild.
Under Jennifer Lawrence.
I feel like I need to see more of these films, though, maybe to really say. But I was blown away by Demi and by Cynthia. But they're very different films, and they say very different things, and that's why it's so difficult.
That's true.
You know?
You know what I think's going to happen?
Mm-mm.
I haven't seen the film yet, but I think it's going to be a situation like an Olivia Colman situation. I think that Fernanda Torres is going to get it.
Yeah.
Because we're not looking at her. I don't know. You know
Yeah.
how the Academy likes to do that?
They do. Like a surprise.
Yeah. Or because of the climate of the world and the United States and Carla Sofia Gascon's Unlocked Past. So Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
What if they give it, like, what if it's not even based on performance at that point? What if the Academy is just like,
this is a safe bet.
yeah, or like things got real messy. Let's just, you know, give it to like Cynthia Erivo just because she is so great. And also because Wicked is kind of an allegory for race and like prejudice.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, it is. I mean, I really enjoyed Wicked. For all that it is, you know, like underneath all the singing and stuff. I was like, huh.
It's going to at least sweep, I think, all the like technical categories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's nice just to be nominated. That's what they say, right? You have to say that.
It is. I think it is nice just to be nominated.
I think it's nice to be recognized.
It's going to be to me.
I really think, well, it's so interesting too, because I mean, she's been like acting for a while now. It's so interesting to me when someone's been like really putting in the work and they haven't been recognized and it's been a long time. You know what I'm saying?
And do you mean by putting in the work, do you mean Charlie's Angels Full Throttle? I'm not joking entirely.
Okay, I've seen clips of that and
Wait, you haven't seen this whole film?
I don't think so, because I don't remember. She's on the beach, right? She's like is she a surfer or something? Or I was like, wait, she's in this movie? I don't remember Full Throttle. I may have seen it. I thought we saw it, but maybe we just saw Charlie's Angels. I know we talked about Charlie's Angels and have a whole episode on it. However, I'm like, have I even seen Full Throttle? I feel like I would remember this.
Full Throttle.
I want to.
Brie, you knew me as a little kid. As a little kid, can you imagine me being like, I gotta go see Charlie's Angels full throttle. Take me to the movie theaters, mommy. Like,
was she like, no?
Yeah, no. My godmother took me.
Oh, okay.
And we had a great time.
Nice.
And I loved the scene, especially the scene when they were like doing their like Pussycat Doll routine.
Oh, okay.
And when they were on the motorcycle or the motocross.
See, that sounds fun.
With Pink.
We gotta add this. Oh yeah, Pink. That's crazy. We have to watch this. We should do an episode.
Should we do Full Throttle? Not to plan on mic. If Demi Moore wins the Oscar, the following week we will do Charlie's Angels Full Throttle
in celebration. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
we made a
it.
pact. I don't know what after that.
Oh, you're like,
I can't really do that one.
Just dab me up. You're like, yeah,
it felt official.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. Gotta
do. Any final thoughts on The Last Showgirl?
Final thoughts. I absolutely love this movie. It's my new favorite movie of 2025. I love it. It might be up there. If I don't put it in my top 4, it's definitely going on. I'm definitely reviewing it on Letterboxd, but it might go up there, which is crazy. Because so far, nothing's been good enough for me to put up there. Except now that I'm thinking about it, Norbit probably. But
it's classic.
Gotta have a mix of, different genres, I feel.
100%
in the top 4, but
that's awesome. I love this for you. Do you want to plug your Letterboxd?
Oh, I don't know. How do you do that? Just say my username?
What's your handle?
It's just Brie Piccone. That's BRIPICONE. Yeah.
Polissima.
Find me. How about you, Nick?
Oh, I'm Nikki D. Jensen on most platforms.
Gotcha.
Well, waiting for your review.
Just patiently waiting.
Yep. Patiently waiting for you to add this to your top 4 along with Norbit. Anything else?
I love this film. I'm excited. I hope like Pamela Anderson does more things.
Me too.
I'm like fascinated with her. Ever since she went makeup free, I'm just so fascinated by her life. And I'm like, what is she going to do next? What is she going to pickle next?
Same. I mean, I love that idea of Pamela Anderson just following whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And like setting this really good example that you can be glamorous and wear the makeup and have the hair and be that Pam Anderson, but then also be Pamela Anderson and have a vulnerable side and not wear makeup and be into, your pickles or, whatever, living in Ladysmith.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know she was from Canada.
Island. Yeah.
Crazy. The more you know.
The more you know. I think my wealth of knowledge of Pam Anderson is only going to increase.
Same.
So I'm going to have to watch VIP. I'm going to have to see Barbed Wire.
I really want to see Barbed Wire now. It looks amazing. I know that they say it's like a really bad movie or something, but I feel like it could be like really campy and maybe a cult classic. I don't know, but just from the preview, I think it'd be a fun one.
I'm into it. And also, her look is so iconic. Like, anyone that ever judged Pamela Anderson,
get out of town.
Get out of town. Bimbo core forever.
Mm-hmm.
And be makeup free with your pickles. Like,
yeah, we both can exist.
Yeah. And at Late to the Party, we are both bimbos and brining pickles.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week. And we'll see you in a month from now when Demi Moore wins that Oscar and we go full throttle, baby.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye.